All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in here today. My name's Tom Dufour. I'm with Big Sky Franchise Team, and we appreciate you joining us. This is part 4. It's crazy to believe this is already our 4th week in a row doing a series on navigating the coronavirus. And it's a joy to be able to welcome today's session. We have Eric Bell, who's the General Manager with Franchise Gator. And like many of us in the franchise business or any business in general, whether you're thinking about franchising your company or currently franchising, saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to keep growing, selling new franchises? Or I know we invited several franchise brokers to join us as well. And you're wondering, how are we going to keep finding new leads, keep calling through? And so to help answer those questions in terms of what's going on right now in the franchise lead generation world, where are things going, what's happening, we asked Eric Bell to join us and give us an overview of what he's seen on the front lines. And Eric will give us a nice overview of Franchise Gator and their involvement. But I've known Eric, goodness, I think we've been working together for I don't know, 13, 14 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. It's crazy when you start thinking back to that, but it's been a long time. So I'm really grateful to have you with us today. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to you, Eric, to get us started and share your wisdom, knowledge, and what you're seeing out there for franchise lead generation.
That's a lot of pressure. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me. All right, everybody. Thank you. I see a couple familiar names, so I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you, and I will try and share my screen on your pajamas. There we go. We good then?
Let's see. I am not seeing your screen yet.
All right, hold on.
You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, so you hear me now? But you don't see me.
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. Mm-hmm. Eric, are you there?
My screen okay? I'm all right?
Yep, we got you ready to go.
All right, so sorry about that. Thank you, everyone. You know, as Tom mentioned, I'm going to be going over some lead. We'll see what we can do about navigating this new landscape. My name is Eric Bell. I am the General Manager at Franchise Gator. So let me just start off by saying and telling you what Franchise Gator is for any of you that aren't familiar with us. We're a landing spot for those interested in looking into and exploring franchise and business opportunities. We'll drive them to our site, get them in front of the opportunities that are advertising at that time. I've personally been here since 2005, so certainly have my finger on the pulse of our sector and talked with them years that you know, certainly have a good idea as to what's going on in their world as well. We are part of a larger umbrella. Franchise Ventures is sort of our holding name, which is a conglomerate of a few other franchise sites that you might be familiar with: Franchise Opportunities, Franchise.com, Franchise Solutions. We all work independently of each other. I'm out there, and I'll be referencing a couple of reports, surveys that we've taken collectively, which I think you'll find very interesting. Fast. I give Q1 3 out of 3 thumbs up. We were seeing traffic volume and total submitters that we haven't seen in a very long time. Our new, and I mention that because when you're talking about newsletter subscribers, you're talking about people who are sticking with the process longer than just their initial visit to Franchise Gator. They are engaged. They're taking multiple before the Corona outbreak. So how has the pandemic been affecting Franchise Gator? Well, I'm sure it's no surprise if I told you that our traffic and our leads and have all decreased. So let's dive into that a little bit. When it comes to traffic, as I mentioned, traffic's down. There's just less people that feel they're in a position to invest any type of money into a franchise. And traffic falls into 2 categories, paid and organic. And what we've seen is that on a percentage basis, the traffic. And so why that's relevant is because it affects your spend, right? You are going to try and make up for any lost traffic by going out, spending a little bit more. So here at Franchise Gator, you know, our so throughout all this, we are spending more on a per lead basis. I share what Franchise Gator is seeing, but I imagine that any franchisor is seeing something very similar. And that is also in conjunction with the average cost per lead rising, which is probably a factor or a byproduct of the fact that we have less advertisers on the site. You know, when you have less advertisers on the site, there's less to choose from. Maybe more people will come. Is that the percentage of advertisers, and by the way, when I say less advertisers, the majority of those that are not franchise or not advertising on Franchise Gator that were a month canceled, which is a good sign because they're ready to go. They just want to make sure that they're in a good position, that they feel that the audience out there is active and ready to move forward again. So I do think as soon as the tide turns, you know, they're all going to. But the percentage of advertisers that have decreased is that means for us, and I finally get to have a green arrow here, is that for those that are still advertising previously. And I can tell you they're very happy about that. And I really think that the one lesson here is I think you should considering having some toe in the water with regards to advertising. You will benefit as long as you understand it's a long term. As I mentioned before, interest in franchising was very high going into this current environment. And that's important to note. Look, I mean, that was a month ago, okay? So the interest, you know, some people may not have the means anymore. With a lot of people who are unsure of their employment status. And that's something that, you know, and I always hate to world. And so I think that to do digging into alternatives such as franchise opportunities. So we took a survey, collected the data between March 17th and 19th at Gator, and we started to see a sharp decline. So in other words, when we were gathering this information, there was a lot more uncertainty than there is now. I'm not going to try and say that there's no uncertainty now, but you know, every day we're starting to see some signs, you know, maybe some flattening of the curves. At least there's some talk about how to open the economy, a real plan. And so any type of positive news, I think, is going to start to bring the economy back. Knee deep in the uncertainty. And we asked them, do you agree that now is a good time to start a business? And you can see that over 50% of them agreed that it is a good time. They either strongly agreed or they agreed. And down the line. So, you know, now's a good time to do your research. They want to either open now or they're putting all their ducks in a row. We asked them, are you more or less likely to start a business now than 3 months ago? And what a larger percentage of these people were more likely or much more likely to start a business than in January. January is the New Year's resolution month. I've been here for 15 years. Every because that's when everybody, you know, starts to try and get good habits. They're going to the gym. They're flossing 3 times a day rather than twice a week, and they're thinking about their career, right? They want to evaluate where they in a good position to have more control. Well, here we are in March during these weird times, and you know, just as much, if not more, you know, feel like they are likely to start a business 3 months from now. In 3 months, how will general business conditions compare to now? And where the economy is going to be a couple months from now. And you know, what's important about that is, you know, they're looking beyond this. They feel a sense of optimism, and everybody knows it's going to end at some point. Start to explore and take advantage of franchise or business opportunities. And then affect your interest in business ownership. 20% no impact, so they're going to move along just as they were before. And I think that speaks to many across the U.S. are finding themselves in where they're not in control of their destiny, and they're laid off, they're furloughed, and you're going to start to see the number of people who are inquiring into franchises for that very reason continue. The way here is that prospects are, as I mentioned before, they're getting their ducks in a row. Interest has not dried up, not by a long shot. These people are preparing for the future, as you should as well.
Hey, sorry. Just,
I mentioned.
Can you hear me all right?
That there are some who are rethinking the industry that they're interested in. And what I'm showing here is between all the units, how the percentage is. So on a percentage basis, those at the top are seeing more leads, a higher percentage of leads, and those at the bottom are seeing a little bit of a decrease. And a lot of this makes sense. Food and restaurant, on a percentage basis is seeing some less leads, but they're still seeing leads, and we still have some food concepts advertising on our site. They're still seeing some interest. Future, and even some of these industries that they know are getting hit a little bit harder than others, their interest isn't waning in a lot of cases. Some of the ones at the top to me are interesting. Cleaning maintenance, I think, is fairly obvious. Staffing and personnel, I was not expecting that to be at the top, which to me just says, hey, look, these people they're all this is said and done. A lot of people are going to be looking for a job. And so that's where the opportunity lies in staffing and personnel.
Eric, we had a quick question come through.
Yep. To be honest with you, I gathered the stats from our corporate offices, and I can see if
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, another thing that we asked prospects was how responsive are the companies that inquired, said that they heard from every company that they inquired. Why any company at any time is not getting back to someone who showed interest in them has always baffled me. The truth is, what you see here is no different than what we've always seen. Franchise media too large of a percentage of companies that just don't follow up on inquiries. But this is an opportunity for you. That come in, you're going to stand out, and you're going to have a little bit more of an opportunity because your prospects are probably frustrated by not hearing from others. Be steady, when it's broken down by how responsive, how many people they heard from. But again, I think what's important to note is 60% of those that so that should be the easiest thing. But more importantly, now it gives you an opportunity to stand out. All of this .com. That is a parent website of ours, and there's some tremendous information there. More surveys like this are going to come out. In fact, I believe one of the surveys that we reviewed here is going to be updated with results from April. So I recommend everybody check in. I think when you go to the site at the very top, there's an opportunity to subscribe to the newsletter. And I think you'll find the information pretty insightful. All right. So what should you be doing differently as it pertains to lead generation right now? How are you changing your conversation with your prospects? That's the first thing you should start to think about. Relay to them how you're dealing with the coronavirus, right? Are you offering any type of relief or assistance to franchisees? How is your business, making its way through these, weird and strange times that none of us have experienced? That's going to be important to prospects. You know, if you're having challenges, you know, be upfront as you feel you can be with them. You know, they want to hear about that. Everybody's struggling right now. Everybody's dealing with some adversity. They know that. They want to know how you're dealing with that, and that's going to just speak volumes if you're able to, you know, show that you got a plan in place and you're excited about how you're going to come out on the other side. Are you offering any relief to prospective franchisees? That's something that obviously is going to be of interest to them. Make sure you're speaking to why you're offering that. Don't let the prospect think that you're just, you know, backed into a corner and you're forced to do this to keep your business afloat. Even something as simple as, you know, we realize it's tough times out there for franchisees and even our prospective franchisees, and we're in a really good position to see what we can do to help out everybody who is either part of or looking to be a part of the family. And remember, as per what Gator's seeing, there's interest in all industries. So some industries are able to weather the storm a little bit pitch to their prospects. But other industries that are in a little bit more of a pinch, they're still getting inquiries. So why are they getting inquiries? And it's because everybody knows it's going to end. And that's what they want to hear in your voice. You want to talk to them that you want to give them, you know, every impression that you're acknowledging that the current atmosphere is tough, but you have tremendous enthusiasm for your game plan to come out on the other side and come out on the other side even stronger. If there's, you know, one thing that I've learned from my or thinking long term, I mean, probably more so now, but really that's always been the case. It's not always helpful to franchise Gator because, you know, more than likely our customers are, you know, judging us based upon the contact rate of the leads that come in. And, you know, they're giving us about 7 days to judge that lead. But the truth is, a lot of people come to the site and it's going to be maybe a couple months before they finally feel like they got enough research done to be able to pick up the phone or answer your calls, and even more so now. You know, so nurture those leads, think long term, set your expectations appropriately. These people are probably not going to turn around in the same time frame that you were used to only as a month ago. Nurture your old leads as well. You know, go back and you know, talk to some of the people who inquired that maybe you haven't spoken to in a while. See where their heads at. You know, a lot of these prospects are, you know, are probably in a different position, and maybe at one point they determined that it just didn't make sense for them to go and invest in the business. Well, you know, a lot of their situations, you can re-engage. Can your current franchisees help? So this is an opportunity for you to strengthen your validation process. The character of any company is how they deal with adversity. So I hope everybody who is a franchisor out there, you're in constant communication with your franchisees. It's a great time to the more you do that, the more that's going to translate to prospects as prospects reach out to the franchisees to learn about your opportunity. So talk with your franchisees, talk to them about the validation process, maybe coach them through coronavirus related questions. A biggie is take this opportunity. You know, some of you have a little bit more time on your hands, maybe. Some of you do not. I know, you know, we're extremely busy here, you know, doing everything we can to try and make the most of what's happening. You know, a lot of people and maybe a lot of your employees, you know, just have a little bit more time to do some things that always intended to get to, but haven't been able to. And I think it's a great time to put your web developer and your marketing team, get them to work, get them to, make things more efficient and get things in line for when things turn around. So a couple examples. How's your site running speed-wise, both on the desktop and on the mobile phone? Increasing the page speed will help your SEO. So go to Google now, type in test page speed. Help you identify the areas that you can specifically look into to help improve your page speed. Maybe there's articles that you've been putting off writing, new, fresh content that obviously helps SEO. I think that the biggest gain is probably going to be in the SEM. Now's the time to do a deep dive into AdWords, for instance. So, for instance, at Franchise Gator, we just brought on someone new in our marketing department. He started in February. Poor guy, started a new job, and then, less than a month later, someone that had been in the position for well over a decade. Over that period of time, new campaigns were added, new keywords were added, and it wasn't cleaned up as much. Some of the campaigns that were not generating enough revenue or generating every revenue. So what happened over time, if you have an expansive marketing approach, you might have hundreds of campaigns running. You might be bidding on and working towards exposure on hundreds or thousands of keys. Now's the time to go in and see if you're spending money that's just not holding any return. What we found was, there were campaigns that weren't spending a lot of money on, so it never really came up on our radar. But collectively, once we got rid of them and identified those that had a high cost per click or a high cost per conversion, collectively, we saved a nice chunk of change. And so it also gave us an opportunity to, rethink what's been working, what we thought was working. Maybe we realized it hasn't been working. Some keywords stuck out to us. But anyway, it's a really good opportunity to just make things more efficient and get your ducks in a row for when this is all past us. Test new sources. I don't know if there's really any new ways that you could go out, you can generate leads. But I would say it's a great opportunity to explore some of those sources that you haven't had a chance to test before. For instance, Bing, everybody's focused on AdWords, Google. Bing for us comes and goes as a viable source. It's working pretty well for us now. As that come up, give it a shot. Take the results with a grain of salt, but at least, dip your toe in the water and see what's happening. If you're not working for you, you need to figure out how to make that happen. Years ago, when social media was all the rage, it ultimately turned out that as far as franchise development was concerned, it wasn't bringing in the results that I think everybody expected. Recently, I would say within the past year, even year and a half, Facebook has really become franchisees, and Instagram as well. At the recent IFA show, I sat at some roundtables where I heard fantastic success stories around Facebook and actually more so Instagram. To put in a short videos, or when I say short, I'm talking 10, 15 seconds. Talk with one company that sold, I don't know, like 6 or 7 franchises, a pretty hefty investment in all of 2019 simply from from Instagram. His return on investment was fantastic. So, it's about the videos now. It's about the storytelling. That's how people are soaking in content these days. And that's where they're doing it on those outlets. LinkedIn. Personally, I haven't heard of too many people excited with the results that they're getting. More so because it just costs too much. But if you're looking at uncovering, turning over every stone, give LinkedIn a shot. My guess is, because they've been more with their data and their participants than ever before. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line, they have the trajectory of like Facebook, where it was tough in our industry for franchise development, but ultimately, and I'll even say, portals are a viable source. I mentioned before that, our advertisers are seeing more leads than normal. And we're still getting hundreds of submitters on a daily basis, thousands on a monthly basis. There's interest out there. At least maybe keep your toe in the water and see if you can allow those leads to trickle in a little bit. Let's see, sorry, I'm trying to keep my notes in front of me so that way I'm not overlooking anything. And lastly, if you have extra time, use the extra time for anything that you had hoped to get to, but maybe haven't been able to. A couple things that come to mind: do your CRM research. This is a conversation I have with a lot of companies. If you are interested in maybe bringing on a CRM at some point, do your research now, because the worst thing is you grow to a level where you need a CRM. It doesn't become a want anymore. It becomes a need. Finding the right CRM and implementing it takes months. So you don't want to start from ground zero the moment you find yourself in need of that. There's a lot of fantastic tools out there, a lot of great ones that are geared specifically towards franchises. And then there's others that are not industry specific, and I've seen people have success with all of them. The one thing I do tell people is when you start to interview specifically the ones that are franchise centric, you start to learn about some metrics that they keep, or some bells and whistles that you didn't think you needed, but all of a sudden when you see that, you go, you know what, I can see that being extremely integral to our process, and now that becomes a need when you even think about going about any type of reporting or viewing your process in that way. So that's one example. Tighten your sales process. And I just say that based upon the fact that I noted before that 100% of leads are not followed up on, which I just think is ridiculous. It's such an easy way to get better at the sales process. So let's just focus on that specifically. Why are leads not getting back, being responded to right away? Is it because leads come in at a quicker clip than your sales team can keep up with? Well, okay, maybe you need to have more salespeople, or maybe you need to bring in a qualifier, someone who's following up on the leads beforehand. But dig into that and just see where you can make the process a little bit more efficient. And so that's the end of my slide there. I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to thank Tom again for allowing me to come on. I understand now is our Q&A time, and so I'll hand it back over to Tom.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. And Yvonne, maybe you help out here too. So anyone who has questions, feel free to type it into the box, or go ahead and raise, make a note, or or unmute yourself. We'd be happy to field some questions here.
Hey, Tom, can you hear me okay?
So far, we've only had the one question come through. Oh, here's another one. Do we have any inputs on an international leads?
At Franchise Gator specifically, data to share on international leads. Sorry.
Okay. And yes, if you guys have questions, feel free to type them in, or you can unmute yourself at this point and ask your question out loud.
And we have some applause for you, Eric, saying great presentation. So thank you. I echo that.
Thank you.
And just so that everyone knows, we will be reposting this. So if you missed any section of it, or you want to listen to it or share it with other team members that couldn't tune in today, we will be posting this up on our website and sharing that link and resending that over to you. So again, I think Eric made a very good point in the presentation. Just for all of us to think about is now is a really great time to be trying new things. So shift your marketing budget out. And I'll do a plug for Eric. He's not going to do it for himself. I'll do it for him. If you haven't worked with Franchise Gator before, or you haven't worked in a while with Franchise Gator, now might be a great time to give it a shot and give them a call and see what they can do for you and your brand, especially knowing that as a whole, if there are fewer brands to choose from for a potential prospect, that means there's a greater chance that your brand is going to get picked. To follow that up and echo Eric's other comment, if you find yourself in a spot where you're not able to follow up with your leads, or you need some support, or you're thinking about franchising your business, think Big Sky. We'd love to be a guide and a resource for you to help you out with that. So Eric, any parting comments before we wrap the presentation today?
You just cut out there. I did not hear.
Oh, I just asked any final things you'd like to say for us here?
No, just, hey, everybody, stay safe, do what we need to do to try and get this over with as quickly as possible. Look, everybody.
Oh, looks like we had a comment come in here. Tom, you're going in and out. Oh, okay. Yep. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Looks like my audio has been cutting in and out. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll get this up and really appreciate your time. Keep safe and keep fighting the good fight here. Thanks so much. Until next week.